Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar. How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Hopefully your day is all good. Today we're talking about a good old-fashioned scam, ladies and gentlemen. A real scumbag game developer stealing from independent game publishers, game developers, the people that produce some of the coolest games out in the industry. People that make games like Balatro, for instance, Shadows of Doubt, one of my favorite detective games out in the world, okay? You want to talk about people that are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into something and having it stolen effectively in front of them just for people who are putting them on storefronts like the PlayStation Store, like the App Store, selling it for like $1 or $2, making fat stacks and getting away with it. Now, before we dive in further into this video is sponsored by us, ladies and gentlemen. We do have our new merch drop. If you want to pick up yourself a nice little Some Ordinary Gamers hoodie, maybe sip your coffee out of a Some Ordinary Gamers coffee mug, the store is available, someordinarygamers.store. Please check it out if you're interested. That said, let's get right down to the meat and potatoes. Now, Steel Krill is not just an independent game studio, but is actually a solo game and asset developer. So I can kind of really empathize as somebody who does pretty much all of the stuff here on Some Ordinary Gamers by myself. It's a solo venture. And looking at their repertoire of games, they've released quite a few, and quite a few of these games have been very interesting. The one game in particular is one related to the Backrooms. Now, what's important about this game is they're distributed on the Steam storefront. It's $11 right over here. And more importantly, you can see that this is just a standard, backroom style video game that you can buy and enjoy. Now, this game was effectively, as they claim, stolen by one publisher over here. So, for instance, this is the original screenshot, Backrooms 1998, and this is the fake version of the game. For instance, this is the first introduction they have. This is the fake version of the game. So you start to see things like assets have effectively been copied over. You start to see that the game has effectively just been, copied and sold on a competing storefront. So recently, with the help of my publisher, I released the Backrooms 1998 on PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. And they have. For instance, if you go onto the actual PlayStation Store and just go to the, search, type in Backrooms, you'll find their games and you'll find a whole bunch of other games as well, too. So remember, this is happening on storefronts like Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, so on and so forth. A lot of these storefronts allow actual people to jump in and produce independent games alongside the big publishers. Now, generally, this is amazing and good. It means somebody who wants to sell a game on the PlayStation 5 can now jump in and sell a game, but in amongst all of this good, a lot of scammers have jumped in and basically been releasing dog shit slop on the platform, and not just one or two games. We're talking in cases, hundreds of games have been released in a slop fashion. For instance, do you remember way back when I was looking at games like Leotard with a Gun or something of that nature? That is an example of PlayStation having literally no fucking quality control. That game might have even been stolen now that I'm really thinking about this, but that was one of those games that literally was slopped onto the store. Games like Arab Drift Cars also slopped onto the store. If you're somebody that has literally had your game rejected by PlayStation, you would absolutely never want to develop video games once again. Once you realize that 8 years ago on the official channel, PlayStation released a trailer for Skylight Free Range 2 Gotcha Doin' trailer, okay? You might be like, whoa, this game must be sick. Yeah, man, it's fucking awesome. You get to explore this open world. Bro, it looks like RuneScape HD. Yeah, imagine if you were rejected by the PlayStation Store and this was the game that actually ended up going onto the store and selling however many copies. And of course, if you check the actual link now, you'll get this error 404, so clearly it doesn't exist all too much. But to go back to the Backrooms game, for instance, right? This situation, basically they were effectively announced. So a closer comparison to this person's alleged stolen game over here was obviously this one screenshot on the left. You can see that it's quite literally the same placement, if not even the exact same assets between the games, right? The only difference obviously is the one HUD being placed and some of the color grading work. And of course, the more you go down over here, you can see that, for instance, this dresser has actually been replaced alongside these boxes on the very left. That has directly been copied over, right? You can even start to see that situations like this, you can see like the clutter on the desk, the way the plates are actually like placed, is the exact same between both games. Then you go down onto this desk, you can see that, yes, things are placed onto this desk the exact same. It's like the exact props and assets were effectively stolen, right? In fact, even down here, they didn't even make a decision to change the graffiti. Don't make a sound. It can hear you, but no eyes. That looks effectively ported over like no tomorrow. And according to the developer, they stole the whole game, and using a program, they decompiled the assets alongside the music, the sounds, the voice lines from the voice actor that they actually hired. They only changed the monster and the picture on the frame and put it up for sale on the actual consoles. So in this footage that I sourced from YouTube channels covering these games, colloquially, the real version and the fake version appear to have, the assets appear to directly be grabbed from the actual real copy into the fake version. Obviously, even these chairs, like it's so shameful how copied it is. But obviously, aside from the post-processing, this game is nothing but just a shot-for-shot remake of the real game. Just completely asset-flipped. So one of the things that Steel Crow said was another important detail that may have ties or not. I got contacted last year by a very sketchy publisher wanting to publish my game, and I declined it because something seemed off. Next thing I know, someone stole it and published it as their own. So literally it was a situation where, like, again, the further you look down into the story, you'll find other platforms the game has been stolen onto, right? So for instance, they gave a link to a fake game that was apparently still up on Nintendo, but thankfully Nintendo jumped in and took it down. But because of the Wayback Machine, this literally existed on the actual, Nintendo storefront. So you can see that the screenshots exist right over here. And again, they've got I believe video trailers for this as well too. Because this was a Wayback Machine archive, it's not really super easy for me to dig this up. Actually, I think this video might load. Yeah, I don't think this video is archived, but if you go down over here, you can see that, yeah, this was made by one developer known as Cool Devs, okay? Now, I want you to remember Cool Devs as a name. I also want you to remember they've got shit like this ESRB rating as well too, which I don't really know if they even have an ESRB rating. Actually, there's a very quick way to check this up. If you go to the ESRB ratings page, we can look up Backrooms, for instance, and we actually cannot find their games. We actually can't even find their developer with that exact ESRB rating. So I'm wondering how a lot of these publishers, a lot of these storefronts even accept the ESRB rating. They haven't been provided it. I would think it would be a simple check of going to the ESRB, giving a URL link to your actual game's review, and then it being up there. But I guess you can rate your game whatever. It's T for teen, blood and mild violence, so on and so forth. So according to the developer over here, right, long story short, there's this company called Cool Devs, told you to remember that name. SRL stole my whole game, ripped it, pasted some bad AI crap on it as a cover, literally made a bad version of it and published on consoles and sold it to trick players into buying. So literally stolen assets, stolen everything. And you might be like, well, Muda, why not just sue these people, right? Use legal recourse. The thing about it is it goes deeper than you would expect. So this company, when it comes to, Cool Devs SRL, the reality of it is they use a lot of different incorporations. Now, looking into Cool Devs SRL, the closer that I started to get into it, the more complicated this web of connections became. For instance, in Moldova, this company, Cool Devs SRL, existed. Of course, this company had the, type of activity as publishing of computer games, computer programming activities, web portals, so on and so forth. And of course, the further you go down, you can see that the officers are apparently also related to other companies as well, like Adventure Games, SRL. It becomes an entire web of jurisdictional nonsense that you just cannot get into. Which also is one of the actual claims that people can make, hey, if you're attacked by these people or these people have stolen your stuff, why not sue them? Well, the thing is, they're in other countries. If you're a solo person, suing anybody, even in your own country, is already an expensive endeavor. Going international is just nearly an impossibility for 99% of people. The further you go down into this rabbit hole, the more it becomes apparent that this is where the real meat kind of lies. So if you go to the PlayStation Store and you go to the games to wish list section, if you ever have been browsing the PlayStation Store late at night, I know that I have, you probably come across a couple of these games yourself. So for instance, in the wishlist section, all of these games may look to you like complete AI slop. There's maybe one game here that screams actual quality, and that's Onimusha Way of the Sword, which is, coming out of Capcom 2026. This is an actual real game that they're pushing. But then again, they're sharing actual space with Doctor Simulator. And if you open up Doctor Simulator, you can see that you've got Assam Corporation, SRL. And again, I think SRL, effectively, if I had to really say it off the top of my head, might be similar to how like Germans have GmbH, which is like a Gesellschaft mit beschränkter Haftung, which is like a limited liability company. So I assume like that's where they got like SRL. But again, there's literally nothing here. Doctor Simulator is a game in which players can try on the role of a doctor and learn more about medicine. Game also has an achievement system. And if you look at the actual like screenshot that they've provided as a header, this is the most AI slop you've ever seen in your life. So again, have you ever played Lethal Company? Well, you might want to try Lethal Corpo. So you open it up, Game 2 Top Corporation Limited. And again, you look at the actual like image provided, it is once again looking quite literally like AI slop. I mean, I don't know what's going on here with the blimp over here, but that don't seem right, boy. Ah, you guys play that game Ready or Not? Love Ready or Not myself. You might want to play Action or Not. And you look closer at Action or Not, AI Gaming Dev, SRL. Yeah, I can see it's AI gaming when the dude's finger seems to be fusing into the assault rifle right here. Yeah, this doesn't seem bullshit at all. Immerse yourself in a single-player first-person shooter that delivers unparalleled realism. Navigate meticulously crafted and just fucking buy. Ready or Not, okay? At least it's not a scam. Like, just imagine being Death Stranding 2, a game that I'm actually excited for, being in the same organization. What is DSIM? DISIM, Myron Software SRL. Live the experience of being an omnipotent god and deciding the fate of mankind. I'm sure this game may probably never come out. Just like Designer Store Simulator Manager by Warlock Arts probably won't come out. It just feels like you can flood the actual like Play Store with all of this shit, and there's almost no recourse for it. So according to the developer for the Backrooms game that was stolen, it's ideal that users who are developing their game use things like IL2 CPP, which do some level of code obfuscation. I haven't primarily looked into this myself, but it might be a better than nothing protection to having your game being stolen from these scumbag publishers. Now, the thing about it is this is such a successful level of scam that it works pretty much on a daily basis, right? Now, just deviating away from the Cool Devs guys for a second before we go back to them, one user on r/gamedev, Voltic Play, said someone stole our game from itch.io, renamed it, and now it's #1 in the App Store. So what can you do? So according to this, they're a small indie game, and they've released one game during a game jam, right? Where the game was called Diapers Please. So this is the link to the game right over here, Diapers Please. I don't actually see it right here, so let me just type it in. Diapers Please. So this is a game that you can play on your web browser right now, okay? So again, it's running through Godot, and I can just fire it up. I can play it. I think this is similar to something like Papers, Please, just from the name of it. But yeah, this is a simple game. All right, and boom, you can play this right now in your web browser. Now, what happened over here was the game started to get attention from TikTok, right? And then they discovered that somebody literally stole their game, wrapped it in a web view, all right, and uploaded it to the App Store called My Baby or Not. So literally on like actual like TikTok, you're just seeing somebody play this on their actual fucking like iPad or whatever, right? So immediately I go onto the actual App Store, and it's most definitely removed by now because of the stink that was raised. They filed a DMCA and everything. They literally just copied the game from itch.io, put it onto the actual store. So basically, the actual thief made the game, reached the #1 on the actual casual section of the App Store. Apple wasn't apparently responding to it. The lawyer they hired told us there's no chance to pursue the thief in the courts. The best result for us can be that Apple will delete the thief's game and the account. The thief received the most popular paid clone of that game, by the way. They removed an illegal copy of the actual game, but his account still remains online, and Apple hasn't responded to anything about deleting it. Bad news, more clones are up in the App Store. So when this guy's game went down because it was so popular, other people were making the exact same game, putting it onto the storefront, and then selling it as well too. So now, all copies that we found have been removed. Apple answered and said, we can confirm that the following app was removed from all territories. We trust this resolves your concerns. However, the person who stole this in the first place is still there. They sold that game, and for around $60,000, they will actually receive, because that's how much revenue was generated from a stolen itch.io game. So if you're wondering, wow, this might be the most profitable scam in the existence of all existences, you're not joking, all right? Take a fucking game from itch.io, especially during a game jam, okay? You can go to any game jam. For instance, this guy made a game called Into the Deep Web, right? You can basically just go to this game and you can see that somebody's put actual real effort into it. And by grabbing this, putting it into a web view and throwing it into the actual app store, no joke, because of the style of this game, there's no doubt that somebody would actually unironically buy this for like 99 cents, $1, and you can make a serious killing. Not that I'm promoting how you do that, by the way, because obviously it's real scummy behavior, but you get the idea of these scammers, right? This is why mobile gaming, at least in my opinion, is such a bad rap. But just because, like, for every high quality game that somewhat exists on here, it still is a place where actual scammers just distribute shit like this all the time. Now, the thing is, this has been talked about for years, right? This is not a state secret. For 2 years, this has been posted all over r/PlayStation. Now, underneath the name Midnight Works SRL, which in a more recent post, again, the names Midnight Works SRL, Cool Devs SRL, Gaming Dev SRL, and more, it's apparently easy in this poster's ideas to confirm the games are made by the same developer. On other platforms are published under their primary name. The games all share similar AI-generated shit. Many games are just simulators. So to go back to Midnight Club SRL, the way they describe it, there are always some shady developers, but there's one standout. Midnight Works SRL seems to have just gotten onto the PS5 platform. They're starting off submitting 14 games all at once. So if you look at the 14 games right over here, you can see that the games are Bid War, you got Bullock Mayan Warfare, all right, you've got Bus Simulator, Cat Quest, which actually is, I believe that's like a legit full-on game that I've seen for years. Construction Machine Simulator, Firefighter Simulator, you've got Monster ATV Racing, Rocket Car, gee, I wonder what they've got inspired by there. You've got Run or Die VR, Spaceship Imposter VR. I wonder what they're trying to copy there, boy. And when it is. Subway Simulator, yeah. Yeah, this all seems like bullshit. So not only have they littered the PlayStation Store, but they've allegedly littered the Nintendo Switch Store. And anybody that's seen the eShop probably can also agree that there's tons of dog shit on each of those platforms as well. So how they basically stay at the top of that wish list pool and just flood all recommendations is they change the release dates constantly on their game, moving them forward one day every day to make sure they stay at the top of the list and don't get passed by any other game. So basically they're the most likely to be clicked on. Now, I don't know how Sony can't detect the fact that there is a delay happening every single day and doesn't immediately shut them down is beyond me. Because 3 months ago, this developer also apparently struck again. So Midnight Works SRL also abusing an exploit so that the PlayStation dashboard would show their games, and pretty much only their games. So Sony ended up responding, and they reversed the order in which games are displayed so that games coming out, the 20 games coming out the soonest, would be displayed on the main dashboard instead of the 20 coming out closest to a year out. This was obviously responding to their manipulation. So how do they respond? They changed all the dates on their games to make it look like they're about to come out so they could still be the only ones displayed. So basically not even really a fix at all. It took them 5 seconds to figure out how to undo it. This not only prevents any real game from getting displayed, but it's deceptive to gamers since they aren't really releasing those games on those dates. Now, going back to Steel Krill, the person who had their game allegedly stolen in this situation, they had received an email from Cool Devs SRL saying that they made a mistake, apologized, and said it won't happen again. So you're telling me You're telling me after all the effort to put the game on the store, producing a game, all of the shit involved over here, allegedly stealing assets and voice work and everything, yeah, all of this stuff was just done entirely by mistake? I mean, there's a reason why Nintendo and a lot of these developers jump in to go after a company like this, because they literally exist to steal money off of the backs of independent gamers, right? Which is probably one of the shittiest things anybody can do in this sphere, especially considering the fact that indie gamers aren't the ones that are likely to make boatloads of money. Usually you'll see one game that succeeds and goes beyond, any expectation, and it allows somebody to make boatloads of money. But that's not the standard case across most of the industry. A lot of people, they spend years making a game, they put it up on a store, and they barely make nearly enough for what they should really be making to make the entire effort worth it. It's most often just a passion project for people. And then in that entire mix, you have a scumbag like this that comes in, yoinks somebody's property, puts it onto the storefront, and just like sells it for actual dollars, actual like change and makes a killing out of it. I mean, that has to burn you. That has to burn somebody so much that they never want to come back to game development again. And that's probably one of the worst things that you could ever even think of. Now look, ladies and gentlemen, game companies, at least some of these companies in this space, are actual scumbag scammers. And the reason why this video is important to make is that, look, one person had their actual game stolen, completely ripped, and boom, it got completely thrown into a mix where somebody stole their property, made some good money off of it. And it's not just his game. We also looked at another situation with literally a free Game Jam game being made, literally like slipped onto the App Store. Somebody made allegedly 60 grand off of it, and Apple just shut their account down, but that person still apparently seems to have made tens of thousands of dollars off of literally releasing what should have been just a free game, or if anybody should have gotten the profit, it should have been the people that coded the fucking thing together. So yeah, this is a real problem in the gaming industry, especially when it comes to indie publishing, right? You know, this issue isn't even on PlayStation. We've seen similar stuff on Xbox with all those scammy Spider-Man games. We've seen situations with the Nintendo Switch storefront with shit games flooding their store all the time. I mean, even as we speak right now, ladies and gentlemen, as we speak at this moment in time, on the PlayStation storefront, you can go pick up Hentai Shop Simulator, okay? The same storefront that goes out of its way to censor shit like crazy. Mohammed Adnan Hussein is selling this game for $9.44. Okay, you can get PlayStation Plus discounts, $8.09. And if you look at just a segment of this gameplay, one user, Vertical Slice, uploaded it. It looks like absolute dog shit Unity slop. And yeah, it's up on the storefront. I don't even know if I can show you this because some of the stuff may be wrong. Some of the stuff may actually have straight up adult stuff. But I've seen Fortnite creative games with 100 times the effort than any of this shit put in. But this stuff exists, it's flooding the storefront, and in some case, even if it's flooding the storefront with AI slop, at the worst scenarios, you have people who've actually gotten their stuff stolen. And honestly, when you get your stuff stolen and somebody's making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of your shit, it's gonna demoralize you out of probably one of the most funnest industries in the world, but obviously one of the more financially non-lucrative industries for most people. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, wanted to bring this up to you because I saw this shit. I thought it was disgusting. And frankly, I think more attention needs to be brought onto scumbag publishers like this because ultimately nothing is going to happen unless, you know, you actually get the attention of most gamers, you get the attention of PlayStation and most of these gaming companies that allow this shit to be published on their storefront. We need better protections, and we needed them yesterday. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like it if you dislike it. I am out.